Welcome back, everybody. In the interest of time, I propose that we move forward with the program, and we have two items on the agenda this afternoon. The first one is a presentation by Mojca from the Slovenian Supervisory Authority. She will talk about greenwashing, a reality that can be avoided. Mojca, we are looking forward to a wake-up after lunch presentation.
Oh, thank you, Karel. Good afternoon to everybody that I didn't say yet. Thank you for introduction and thank you for invitation for this really important topic that is organized today. My contribution in this conference is greenwashing, where I will speak how it started, what is current legal framework, and that it might change, and I will present some forms of greenwashing as well. So, the term ESG, or Environmental, Social and Governance, was first used in a report by the United Nations Global Compact in 2004. The report was titled "Who Cares Wins?" Recommendations were prepared by the 18 financial institutions, banking, insurance and asset managers to better integrate environmental, social and governance issues in analysis, asset management and security brokerage. The report addressed the role of ESG factors in investment decision making and emphasized the importance of considering non-financial factors in the evaluation of companies. Since then, the use of ESG criteria has gained popularity and has become a widely recognized framework for evaluating a company's substantial and social impact. Nearly 10 years later, in the European legislation, the term ESG has been used for the first time. The Non-Financial Reporting Directive uses it. And this requires large companies to disclose information on their policies, risks and outcomes regarding environmental, social and employee matters, respect for human rights and anti-corruption and bribery issues. Those are the non-financial topics that should be disclosed by companies. The demand for and offer of sustainable investment is growing rapidly. This is a very positive trend in line with European Green Deal objectives. However, there is a risk of unfair practices called greenwashing. Greenwashing would affect investors, consumers, and financial market participants in the way that they will lose overall trust in sustainable finance and to financial system as a whole. There are already many European policies on place that are good basis to sustainability and that provide the basis for the definition of greenwashing and for unfair green claims. Greenwashing is a complex issue with many phases. It can occur at different stages of a financial value chain, not only at marketing or sell level, also at company level, where an undertaking makes false sustainability claim about its product or activities. And this is a great source not only to reputational risk, but also to financial risk for the actors involved. It can also negatively impact the market and system level together with overall trust into sustainable investments. European Green Deal strategy is a response to climate and environmental related challenges. Being sustainable is our or this generation defining task. The European Green Deal provides a roadmap with actions to boost the efficient use of resources. We can achieve this by moving to a clean, circular economy, stopping climate change, reverting biodiversity loss, and cutting pollution. European Green Deal strategy outlines investments needed and financial tools available and explains how to ensure a fair and inclusive transition. In taxonomy regulation, greenwashing refers to the practice of gaining an unfair competitive advantage. An economic activity should not qualify as environmentally sustainable if it causes more harm to the environment than the benefits it brings. The SFDR regulation considers an investment to be sustainable investment if it does not significantly harm any environmental or social objective as set out in the regulation. In the In the product oversight and governance regulation, greenwashing is the practice of gaining an unfair competitive advantage by recommending an insurance-based investment product as environmentally friendly or sustainable when, in fact, that insurance-based investment product does not meet basic environmental or other sustainability-related standards. Guidance on the unfair commercial practice prepared by Commission states that any practice, any claim that creates wrong impression about positive or no impact to environment of good or service is greenwashing. And the last one is ESMA's Sustainable Finance Roadmap. The definition of greenwashing is the most broader. The greenwashing phenomenon could be generally identified as a misrepresentation, mislabeling, mis-selling, and or mispricing phenomenon. It can be noticed that there are many similar and at the same time different definitions of greenwashing. So there is currently no generally applicable and binding definition of greenwashing. The consequence of so many definitions is possible divergence of understanding what greenwashing is. And this complexity can severely impact consumers, investors, and other market participants like third-party providers, consultancy companies, auditing, or other certifying institutions. Commission requested three European supervisory authorities to provide input on occurrence of greenwashing and potential of greenwashing risks, overview of supervisory practices and experiences. Call for advice was published in May 2022. A report should be prepared by end of May 2024, but Commission expects intermediate report in May this year. The three European supervisory authorities published call for evidence on greenwashing to gather input from stakeholders on how to understand the key features, drivers, and risks associated with greenwashing, and to collect examples of potential greenwashing practices. Survey was closed in January this year. It is important to emphasize that greenwashing can occur at any stage of product and has many phases. So, European supervisory authorities asked stakeholders to provide an opinion about possible features and core characteristics of greenwashing. Preliminary analysis showed that those are: product has a misleading component or claim. Greenwashing can occur either at product or service level or at entity level. Greenwashing can be either intentional or unintentional. It can occur at different stages of the product life cycle or of the investment value chain. It can occur in or out of the current regulatory framework. Greenwashing can be triggered by the entity or by a third party. If not addressed, greenwashing will undermine trust in sustainable finance markets and policies. And lastly, surprisingly, it does not necessarily have to cause detriment. And why greenwashing is becoming increasingly important? The demand for sustainability-related products is growing. Regulatory regimes are changing every day. There is, from day to day, more sustainable products on the market. Although available data is not following the offerings and demand for products, there are many fragments in the labeling of the products and entities. Expertise and skills are not growing at the same rate, leading to knowledge gaps. There are many terminologies in use, together with many interpretations of concepts. How we can detect unfair practices? Unclear, blurred or unconfirmed claims that some companies make about the environmental benefits of their products without providing any evidence to support these claims. This is one possibility. For example, a company may claim that its product is eco-friendly or sustainable without providing any specific information about how it was made or what makes it environmentally friendly. Some companies may use selective data to make their products appear more environmentally friendly than they actually are. For example, a company may highlight one aspect of its product that is friendly to the nature, while ignoring other aspects that are not. Labels such as natural, organic, or biodegradable can be misleading if they are not backed up by specific certificates or standards. We want that a product which is labeled natural is free of any synthetic ingredients and is not made using processes that are harmful to the nature. An irrelevant claim is a claim about the environmental benefits of a product that is unrelated to the product itself. For example, a company may claim that its product is carbon neutral, even though the product itself has no direct impact on carbon emissions. And some examples. Auto insurance, as an example of the mass insurance, may have a greenwashing component if the company claims that it offsets the carbon emissions of insured cars by purchasing carbon credits or coupons. This does not result in any actual reduction in carbon emissions. Insurance company may also claim that they plant trees, but are the carbon emissions of the insured cars reduced? Can this be verified by an independent body? Some insurance companies offer discounts or special coverage for homes with solar panels or other renewable energy systems. Yes, but who is green in this story? The policyholder with renewable energy system is sustainable. But there is no evidence that this insurance contract is eco-friendly or that this insurance company is reducing the environmental impact. It may or may not be true. Some health insurance companies claim to support sustainable healthcare by reducing waste, promoting healthy lifestyles, and using renewable energy. However, these claims may not be backed up by any actual sustainable practices or third-party certificates. Some health insurance companies may focus on minor environmental impact, such as promoting the use of recycled paper in their offices or encouraging employees to ride bikes to work, while ignoring larger environmental issues related to the healthcare industry, such as the environmental impact of pharmaceuticals waste or medical waste. Insurance-based investment product is an example where investment part of the product promotes investments in environmentally friendly or socially responsible projects, when in reality only a small proportion of its investments are actually allocated to such initiatives. Or the insurance company may make general or ambitious claims about the environmental or social benefits of its products without providing any concrete evidence to support these claims. To conclude, I choose the image I showed on the first slide, taken from the United Nations Who Cares Wins report, because this picture shows the collective responsibility for sustainable societies of everyone involved in the financial system. The task ahead is not easy, but will be easier if we all act responsibly. The importance of considering non-financial factors became as relevant as financial factors when making the decision. Above all, we must not forget that a small part of the life cycle of a product or part of the business of company can make the product unsustainable. And thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mojca. Maybe we can move to the other table because we are now going to have a panel discussion. And I would like to invite the other speakers also to the forefront. Doris, we remember you from this morning. If you could also please come up. François, COSTE, we haven't seen you yet, but you are the CEO of GROUPAMA in Romania, and we're very pleased to have you. And then, last but not least, Michael BRANDSTETTER, who is the EU and International Affairs man of the Austrian Association of Insurers. So, ladies and gentlemen, you will have noticed, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, that this is a perfect panel. Huh? It's perfectly matched. It's beautiful. So, for after lunch, what can you wish more? So, I would like to turn first to Michael BRANDSTETTER. The ultimate goal of ESG regulation is not to have nice reports, but action. Well, do you think that the insurance industry is sufficiently moving from theory to action on ESG?
Thank you, Carol. I have two answers for you. The first one would be very, very brief. As speaking for an association, I cannot comment on the competition practices of single companies. But I think this would be easy to give an answer like this. The second point is, I think what, at least talking to the Austrian insurance market, is really what I've said already this morning, that all companies are really committed to, and this is, I think, the next point, to this process. I think we have learned today or discussing today that we're in a process which is step by step, and this process has to develop, and there will be part of this will be innovation. I have to remember again that I think insurance companies really have a leverage in this process, meeting the EU sustainability goals. And to achieving this, it's very important also that insurance companies get the possibility via, let's say, the legislative framework. And I think we are now, we have many, a tsunami of legislative projects on EU level discussing at the moment. And therefore, I think it's very important to really bear this in mind, to enable insurance companies to use this leverage to give, let's say, a contribution to these goals, and at the same time, also in the way to see when we see it as a process, as we learned today. I think we have now defined very much the theoretical, let's say, concept. I think this is very sophisticated. I think from the point of view of insurance, it's very complex. maybe you could say it's still too complex, but here it comes into play to say, okay, I think now we have this theoretical background, and now it goes down to the companies who have to operationalize, let's say, these measures. And what we will learn in this process is we get the feedback from the companies. You see, okay, something is working, something is not working, there are contradictions, whatever. And what I would ask for is also the legislator, also authorities, to be in a cooperation and in a dialogue with insurance companies, those who are on the ground implementing these measures, and to take in a serious way their feedback to improve legislation. So we have maybe something like a ping-pong effect, but with the result to have streamlined legislation that it's manageable for insurance companies.
Are you not afraid, because whenever I hear industry pleading for regulation, I get a little bit nervous because I spent all my life regulating, and you might get more than you are wishing for. You know, there is a serious risk here that we will have this tsunami of rules and regulations. And I get a little bit nervous. Mojca was also talking about, you know, how can you know that this product is green? We need to have a certifier and a certification. I can already see the market for certifiers of green products being created, so that the cost of it all will increase tremendously. Are you not afraid of that? What can we do to avoid that regulation will go crazy?
So from my point of view, and I definitely see this risk, yeah, definitely. I think it's a huge task for the companies to implement all those measures, but really to have a common awareness that this is complex, that is maybe not in the sense the perfect status we are right in. And therefore I would also maybe take another example. I think Dieter Pscheidl has mentioned it with the dark side. When having said something that we, in certain areas, we do not yet have very clear rules for the companies. So for the companies, sometimes it's not very clear what is a green light product, what is a green product. Am I, with all my best commitments, what I'm doing, is this correct? Is it correct today? Will it be evaluated in 2 years' time correct? And if what I do is not correct, I will be punished after 2 years, and I have a huge reputational risk, etc., etc. I want to avoid it. And the consequence could be that companies say, okay, I rather do not launch a green product before I have all these compliance risks. So we have huge compliance risks involved. And again, I think this is the point. We need legislation which is fit for purpose, or which is made for companies to have legal certainty and to have streamlined processes which are not too complex and where we can go in a certain direction. But of course, Karel, what you mentioned, of course, there is in this, let's say, dialogue, of course, there's a risk that it's getting just more, but I think we all should be aware that the goal should be not to have more unclear regulation, but rather clear rules in order that everyone is enabled to contribute to the goals which are common goals. So everyone wants to reach the goals, including the insurance companies.
Well, okay, well, let's hope that reason will prevail. One never knows, you know. Moving to you, Doris, Swiss Re is a very important operator in the markets. And you struck me again in your presentation with your colleague. There's a lot of research going on in Swiss Re, as always been, and I always read with great interest many of the papers that you have produced. So I compare Swiss Re, ladies and gentlemen, like a tanker, you know. When Swiss Re is moving, something is going to happen in the world. Now, you were quite clear about sustainability, and we are, this is our goal, and you described that. Can you give us some examples of very concrete actions? I mean, you gave some examples, but very concrete action that you say, I want to tell this audience, that is a good example, and I honestly believe that's the sort of thing we should be doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, happy to do so. I mean, like you highlighted, we have as a company, you know, the goal to limit us and to reach net zero at 2050, and for our own operations also already 2030. So now, and we have the research side and the publications, but now the difficulty is how do we kind of translate this into reality, and what are we really doing? And I gave a couple of examples on the underwriting side, what we are doing already partly, say, or what we are aiming for also. I mean, some things are really also goals and kind of future speak, where we still need to work hard on it to do it. And also on the solution side, basically, I mean, we are thinking about also about like climate risk scores. How can we describe what's happening in the world? How is it going to evolve in different geographies? And these things are then concrete things what we are trying on the underwriting side. But let me also give you one example just on our own operations. So as we heard already before in a presentation, the air travel is an important CO2 emission for a reinsurer, a global reinsurer. And there, for example, we have a concrete goal. We have to limit during 2022, which we reached easily because it was still impacted by COVID. But also now, also for 2023, we need to reduce our CO2 emissions from flying by 50% compared to 2018. And I mean, how do we do it? First of all, we have the technology help now with Teams, and everyone is so used to it and we work so well. And so we can kind of compensate it for it. And also we kind of like probably have to limit, or we limit already like internal flying, so that we can still, because it's a people business at the end, reinsurance still do some trips. I mean, that's unavoidable. And in addition to just the awareness creation, we have created a carbon levy. So when I book my flight, there will be like a calculation how much that is on CO2. And there is a steering value. So at the 2022, a ton of CO2 costs you $112. And this is just for an internal mechanism, and also for our colleagues then to engage in carbon offsetting, carbon removal. And this price will increase over the time. So our plan is to increase this from the 112 last year to 200 tons CO2 in 2030. And hopefully many more examples to come over the next months and years.
Well, that's interesting. By the way, did you come by train or by plane?
Well, I spent my small budget to come by plane, but mainly because it is Saturday, Sunday, and then we come to the Essen. No, there's also some social family duties I have to do. But it is always hard to book a flight because, you know, it's not very good for the CO2 balance at all.
Another question. Now, if Swiss Re is saying we are no longer going to be supportive of certain projects, but Munich Re is doing it, how does that feel?
Well, I mean, we are offering on our own, according to our risk appetite and according to our guidelines. So from that point of view, I think everyone is doing what they think is right or wrong. And I mean, often we are not doing one thing, not anymore, only out of ESG reasons. No, I mean, there are ESG reasons, there are many other underwriting reasons and other reasons. And then it depends on the targets, on what you still can do or can't do. But yeah, I mean, we are more like offering for ourselves, for our putting our capital on risk.
Yeah, but what I really had like to hear from you is we think about the risk, because we stay out of certain things because in the end it's more risky. And we look at the long term, the risk at the long term. But it's interesting. Mojca, greenwashing. Yeah. If you don't know what is brown, how do we know what is green? Will we ever get out of this? How do you see this evolving? Because you mentioned the ASAs are working on this document. What could we expect as an outcome of that?
I will start with my traveling to here. So I came by train.
Shall we applaud to Mojca? Yeah.
This is just because we don't have air connection from Ljubljana to...
Very good, very good.
But I have to admit, I found it really funny, and like back in the student time when I was traveling around Europe, not in the first class as today, and on my ticket I had some carbon emissions footprint. And this I never seen with aviation companies. So lately, when I was traveling. So traveling by train is funny. Regarding greenwashing, I will put your question into two parts. So greenwashing can be avoided generally with high awareness, good education, good campaigns that influence the society, all the communities, from very young generation to even to older. Probably they are more careful what they will leave to the grandchildren. But if there is a strong education and the awareness will raise about why it's important that greenwashing is avoided, why it's important that we became sustainable society, this can be reached. This is one stone to reach the goal. It's not the end. And what is also not the end, the taxonomy. Currently, there are some labels about green, gray, black products or production, but I think this will change because knowledge will change, scientists will make some different product lines, or they will change the product that currently we need because we are used to it, we cannot leave it. Even though the product is, or production of the product is dangerous, but with scientists and time, this can change, and I hope that also labeling of the product will change as the production will change. So it is not what is now, it is never-ending story. We can try today our best, but I think that to be on good path, we need clear legislation. So I hope this will be changed, because it is probably too many. And if it is too many legislative acts on place, they cannot be really in one direction. It's always the danger that a little word will change the meaning of the legal act or of the paragraph. So the knowledge, education, and awareness.
Yeah. But should we not have more freedom? Because I have the feeling we're becoming very paternalistic, you know. Nobody should buy a product which is qualified green when it isn't green. Honestly, I mean, if you see what the insurance industry publishes in advertisement about their products and so on, there are many other examples which are also important. So would it not be better to let the market just go about it and we learn from it, and then you name and shame the guys who do a bad job, but avoid these straitjackets of rules and regulations?
It's not possible. The regulations are there. But
not yet. Not on greenwashing.
Some of them, yeah. There are some definitions. There are some recitals defining this. But if the society awareness will be high, then the greenwashing will be easier to prevent.
Okay. Yeah, I think that is important. It's the awareness. Because if it is a top-down exercise, it's not going to work. It has to be a bottom-up exercise. I think it's very important when people do not want to buy the bad products, you know, then we need to make sure that they are protected, they don't unnecessary or inadvertently buy these products. Let's now move on to the CEO. You know, we hear about companies that are very much committed to sustainability. Now what is GROUPAMA doing in terms of investment, in terms of underwriting, in the context of sustainability? Are you doing something about it, or are you taking a wait-and-see attitude, or?
So I'll speak about GROUPAMA in Romania.
Yes.
First, I didn't come by train. I would not have arrived yet. Bucharest is far away and the trains are slow. And the other information, I have nothing to teach you. I came here to learn from you. But what I can share is my experience of the leading company on the Romanian market. First, it's not an easy environment, business environment, to develop sustainability. It's not easy because the level of awareness of the population is still low. We are in a country, Romania, where it's still a catch-up of consumption with a lot of waste. We have a lot of environmental issue, waste recycling, collection, recycling. And there is, Romania is a big factory. It's like what our colleague from Turkey was saying. It's a big factory for Europe. Lot of transport by road to the west, so the environmental topics are not at the core of the priorities. But I made it as a CEO at the core of the priorities of our company for two reasons. Because by being leader of the market, commercial leader, I think we have also a responsibility on this new front to educate ourselves, to understand, to act in a consistent manner, and also for resource management, human resource management point of view. The Romanian labor market is a very tight labor market. And today we are deeply conscious that you cannot attract, you cannot retain talents if you don't show a very genuine involvement in sustainability. So what have we done? We have first decided to organize ourselves in project, because in project mode we create a temporary structure where we mobilize all the necessary resources. We have hired for 8 months a specialized consultant from Austria, costly but very knowledgeable. We have made for the first time this, I'm very transparent to you, the sustainability topics in the agenda of the executive committee of the company. It has never been, because we have had an agenda very busy with a lot of growth topic and issues on the market. But we have made it a topic, sustainability, on the agenda of the executive committee. Regarding investment, for years we have been investing in small green bonds and so forth, but there are not many opportunities on Romanian market, so we have decided to outsource investment to our sister company, GROUPAMA Asset Management, which is a specialist in investing in green. So it was a wise decision, not trying to do it by yourself, but outsourcing to people who know. And now we have put the things in perspective. We are about definition. Initially, we struggled sustainability, CSR, ESG. So now we have positioned the pieces of the puzzle. So for us, sustainability is the addition of the CSR, which we have been doing well during the years, and the ESG compliance, which we need to meet. So the things start crystallizing well, and I'm very convinced that the team will deliver well.
Very, very well. Your company, of course, is a mutual. Do you think that mutuals have an advantage over limited liability companies in terms of sustainability movements?
I do think that mutuals have a lot of advantage because also profit is not an option for anybody. We need all profit to strengthen the companies, whether they are mutual or listed. But a mutual company doesn't need to distribute a dividend. And there is no this tension, which I lived in another insurance company, a listed one, this tension, daily tension between the client and the shareholder. So in a mutual company, we have more opportunity to put the client at the center, and we know well that the performance of the company doesn't stop at the door of the company and involve also the society.
Very good. I think it's an important message also to the audience. The advantages of this old legal form. It all started with mutuals, and it still shows that mutuals have a role to play. But I turn now to
it's old and very new. In USA, it's called peer-to-peer insurance.
Peer-to-peer insurance. Yeah, you know, the Americans always invent something that others have invented a long time ago. But that's their way of doing it. In the audience, any questions to the panelists? Something that this morning you wanted to ask and has not been. Yes. My friend from Frankfurt. This, careful now, because he's a financial analyst.
Wolfgang Rief, thank you very much, Carol, for your very kind words. I'm addressing you, dear Carol, because you are Mr. Solvency II, and I always remember when you're preaching, Solvency II is principle-based, my friends, and not rule-based. Is ESG principle-based or rule-based? And why, if so, why not?
Well, you will have seen that I've tried with my panelists this afternoon, but also this morning, to steer these ideas away from regulation, because in the end, it is true, Solvency II was a principle-based regime, and still is, you know. It's difficult to believe if you look at all the rules and regulations that we have. 600 pages, I know, but still it is principle-based. And it's principle-based in the sense that the basic principle of Solvency II is that it is risk-based. It is forward-looking and it is risk-based. That is to say that whenever there is a risk, we need to take care of it. We can do so by capital or by mitigation of risk or managing of the risk, but that is a basic principle, and it applies in all circumstances, including in ESG, sustainability, climate change, and so on. But your question, you know, it's the eternal struggle, and you've seen how people have difficulties to go with me when I say, don't plead for regulation, because the industry will always say, I quote, they'll say, we need to know what it means. Otherwise, the supervisor will come to me and say, oh, you didn't apply the principle correctly. And the supervisors, they will come to the regulator and say, you need to define that principle because otherwise we cannot enforce it with the industry. So both sides are pleading for regulation, and that results obviously in a lot of regulation. But I would still hope that in all these ESG debates, we will not forget the basic principles of what are we talking about, and don't lose ourselves in just creation of new packages of regulation. But, you know, we are a little bit in the hands of everybody. It's only through discussion and negotiation that you get to that. But if I may continue with my panel, an issue that comes up all the time in this context is also interlinked, is reputational risk. You know, once the lawyers get their hands on it, they come up with things like reputational risk. Do you think that's an issue in the context of ESG, Michael?
Yes, it is, definitely. It's for the companies is a very important topic, of course, reputation. I think, however, if you allow me one comment on this, is what we see a challenge for insurance companies. It's on the one hand side, you have, let's say, the complex regulation, which is sometimes not clear what it really means, etc., etc. Then you're committed to do something, and so you have to follow these rules. And on the other hand, you have, let's say, certain interest groups who play it very clear, this reputation card. What an insurance company can do, they can say, I don't care, they don't do it. But so you have different sources of someone who tells you what you have to do. And this sometimes is a contradiction. It's not clear, but it's like this. Insurance companies are in an environment like this, and it's very challenging for them. The question is then to be for a longer term exposed to such an environment. Is it really helpful, let's say, to do really the right steps to achieve, again, these EU sustainability goals? It's a question mark, but I think it's something companies have to deal with.
Doris, is this also the issue for Swiss Re? Because you come out very clearly and outspokenly. So is it something that within the company people talk about? We have to be careful here that we do what we preach?
Absolutely. I mean, greenwashing risk is a risk which we are very much aware of. We make everyone aware in the company that this exists and what it means, more or less, or what we understand what it means. So as a simple guidelines, we say always to people like, make sure you talk about what we do. And on the other side, also make sure we do really or intend to do what we say we intend to do or we do. From that point of view, we are raised awareness and we are careful of doing it. And like you mentioned, I mean, we have been quite vocal about the topic and have put out a lot there. So yes, definitely it is on our radar. And how we try to come across it is really to try to communicate clearly, say what we do, try to avoid any misunderstanding, put our assumptions down, what do we mean with it and that. So yes, definitely something which we are very aware of and trying to do our best to navigate there, to not mislead someone.
Mojca, is that something that the supervisors are also thinking about, reputational risk? Because if you are going to be my guide, I'm the poor consumer, and you're going to tell me you can safely buy that product, and it turns out not to be the green product. Is it an issue?
I think yes, but this is my opinion. It's too soon to speak in the name of all supervisory community. But this reputational risk can be a real issue. I cannot imagine that the company is becoming a hot news in the newspaper, on television, just because of the greenwashing. And then journalists come to us and ask, what did you do? What did you do in the past that this didn't happen? So this is that we usually are afraid of. We try to follow all the legislation. We try to follow all the strategy that companies are preparing, and it's not easy. You can imagine that we are a small authority, but usually the supervisors are much smaller comparing to the number of employees, to all the insurance industry. They have to supervise many companies, and they have to be cautious how legislation is developing, what is companies preparing, new strategies, new movements, new investment ideas. And for us it is perhaps even harder. We have to follow the industry, but at the same time be cautious to say stop, it can be dangerous. So to prevent this catastrophe in advance.
Okay. Prevention is always better than cure, as you know very well. François, is that something that's on your mind?
If the reporting on sustainability is not well done, for sure it can bring this kind of risk, even if they have not materialized yet. So it's very important that the sustainability reporting should be perceived not as a bureaucratic burden for compliance reason. So my point is to make it a noble purpose, to say that what we measure, we manage well. If we don't measure, we don't manage, or we don't manage well. To also, and I believe strongly in this, to make sure that through this reporting well done, we understand better our company with strengths and weaknesses. We see opportunities, including business opportunities. It's a way also to develop the maturity on sustainability in a subsidiarity way. So really relying on the team to learn and find solutions and problems. So I really think it's something important, but it should be noble purpose, not secondary compliance topic. If you make it core to the business, then people are doing their work and the risk is lower.
Yeah. But I think it is important that reputational risk cannot be used as an argument not to do anything. Because that is the risk, yeah.
Could I add maybe one more component to this complex environment? Its reputation risk could have also a second side, particularly maybe in our region, the C region, where you say, okay, maybe you have a government who says, I want you to insure this risk. I want that you're active here, and I don't want your company to go out of this risk, which puts also a lot of pressure on the company. So that's a second side I think also companies are confronted with, and I think we should also bear this side in mind.
Good point. Politics should stay out, yes. Let us then move on to maybe my last question, unless there are questions from the audience, to the panelists, is a topic that's dear to my heart, and that's innovation. I may be wrong, but I have the feeling that there isn't much in terms of innovation going on in the insurance market today. And I was just hoping, praying, dreaming that maybe sustainability would be that wake-up call to the industry to say, there we are. Now we discover innovative products which will improve the world and make it a better place to live in. Michael, am I dreaming?
Again, competition question as association. I cannot really answer. However, what I can say, I think, Karel, what you were saying before is you have two approaches. One is like this bottom down and top down and down to the top. And I think in this ESG discussion, we have a lot, let's say, to foster innovation from top to down. I doubt if this will really lead to the results we would like to have the results. And therefore, I would see it very much that we have a competition of the best ideas on the market. Of course, you have, again, certain circumstances, but I really believe that our companies, the colleagues in the companies, they have the ability to satisfy their customers' needs. And so I think this is an important point. Maybe a second part is when you talk about, let's say, innovation, is what we are very much confronted is basically as insurance companies is that we like to make investments. Mr. Begun was showing how, let's say, the investment story is looking like in Austria. And so basically what insurers, I think what they like is to invest in certain bonds where they don't make their own projects. And what we see, again, talking about the C region, I think is something that maybe we do not have too much offer of, let's say, opportunities where insurance companies are really willing to invest. They really want to invest. They have to do this, but there are maybe not enough opportunities to do so. And again, speaking for the C region, I think this could be, I think in the C region, we are talking a lot about, let's say, also economic development. And this could be also, let's say, a business opportunity for countries or companies in the region to satisfy here a certain demand, which is really coming also, let's say, from the insurance industry.
Okay, Doris, I think you gave this morning some ideas about innovative approaches to ensure resilience, you know, when you talk about resilience.
The resilience
Can you maybe say something about that?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I guess, I mean, like what you're hinting to innovate and to innovate as insurer, reinsurer, it's not easy, no? It's not that that just the ideas and the new products are just bubbling up and we can hardly count them. I mean, it's hard and it's difficult. Nevertheless, I think on the sustainability area, I would personally have a lot of hope that there are some innovative products and ideas coming through. And why? I mean, the why is really because we have real problems in the real economy to solve. I mean, all the sustainable issue, the environmental issue we talk, if you think about so they are real, they're here and they're strong and they need to be solved. And then as an industry, I mean, we have like the experts, we do some R&D and we are used to dealing with goal conflicts and with kind of insecurities, with models and with data. We get more and more data also from the technological side. So from that point of view, I would very much hope so that if we meet again in 5 years' time or so, that we say, yeah, look, there has been really a lot of innovation going on, or at least incremental betterments, let's put it like this, new things, new angles, how to tackle our common challenge.
Okay, thank you. Mojca.
I hoped you will skip me.
No, I will never skip you. I always have good ideas.
Not in this sense, but I don't work for industry. I don't need to innovate, but I would like to ask industry, whenever you would be innovative, please take care of consumers, of policyholders, so that they get value for their money. So,
so fortunately, I asked you the question.
No, I hoped you will put me on the last place, but I send the message out. So it is important that policyholders will not pay all that is needed for being sustainable. Yes, of course, it is fine to contribute everyone, also me, but to be innovative, just to say I'm green, I have green product, and there is no value for policyholder, no thank you.
Very good, very important. François, last but not least.
I will echo what you just said. So in innovation, it must be a win-win-win. A win for the client, in client experience, must be a win for the employee, because we cannot have employees martyr to satisfy the clients. It must be a win in terms of business case. And there are a lot of technologies available. I've seen in my life very few use case. I can mention one, which we introduced GROUPAMA in Romania with another crisis, the COVID, the deep usage of video, especially in the claim inspection. So we use the eyes of our expert remaining in the office and the smartphone of the clients. Now, at the time of COVID, it was 84% of the motor claim inspection done through video assist. Now it's 20-25%. It avoids the client to travel, making long distance, and it's good for the environment also. So this is a real innovation, but there are not so many of them. It can be good for the company, but if it's not a good an improvement in client experience, it's not a real sustainable innovation.
Good, thank you very much. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we still have some time.
I will put a
Sergio.
sort of question, it's more a comment. Imagine it's about the cost of becoming green. Imagine the train Mojca come here with 12 wagons, and it's just Mojca in the train. The environmental cost is huge. How we can become green in a smarter way?
Well, we need more than one Mojca on the train. And that is the answer to your question. I think public transport needs to become more popular. Why is Mojca alone on the train? Because everybody's coming by car or by plane or by boat, you know. So the question is, and that is certainly part of the future, is that public transportation will have to become more important, and that private driving will be more the exception than the rule.
It must become smart, because I saw in cities in Romania they bought a lot of electric vehicles, but sometimes it's nobody inside. They are circulating free.
Yeah.
Empty, not free.
But let's also consider COVID. There's still many people in Europe that don't take public transport because they are still afraid of being too close to other people because of the COVID experience. And that is the reason why you see today more buses and trains with less people than before COVID. That will hopefully return when we all...
Let's become smarter.
Let's become smarter. But to give you an example of innovation, I read recently that in Australia, parts of Australia have become uninsurable because of heavy flooding, for instance. There's areas where people have been building houses where they shouldn't have been building houses because they're just in areas which are really the subject of floodings. And there's an insurance company, an Australian insurance company that has come up with a proposal. Let's just move all these houses to a different place. And we'll pay for it. And then we can insure the properties. That's innovation. And that's the sort of things that we will need going forward in order to make sure that insurance stays and remains relevant. But ladies and gentlemen, let's thank the members of the panel for their contributions. And in terms of the conference, I think we've come to the end of it. We talked this morning, started out by regulation and supervision, and we saw how complex it all is, how many things that remain uncertain. We then moved to action. We looked at how can you deal with sustainability issues as an insurer. Asset evaluation, we have to look at that differently. On the liability side, the underwriting, new strategies have to be developed. Then we saw what companies were doing, and we finished with a roundup of just, you know, what's happening, what are some of the remaining issues. For me, it only remains to tell you that what is important is that you keep track of this. This is a very important development. As I started out this morning, I said, I don't want to scare you, but it's about survival. The insurance industry has an important role to play. It has to happen now, not tomorrow, but it has to happen now. And only then, when we all play the role we should be playing in this context, our lives and that of the future generations will be saved. And on that note, I hand over to the boss, Daniela, who is going to say a few words.
Well, am I really the boss? In knowledge terms, you are all the bosses today. I'm just a big fan of you. What I want to say is that I'm thanking you for being here. I hope that we will have the opportunity to further discuss on this topic, on maybe on other important topics. For me, learning about ESG and its complex environment was very interesting. Also because I understood that in many ways it is about things that are in our concern since a long time. Just think to the net cap insurance gap, especially in our region, where it's an important issue with a social impact, potential impact, everything. So environment and taking care about it, it's just putting a new accent on a very old problem in the region. That being said, I would like to thank you all for being here. Thank you, Karel, for guiding us in this interesting landscape of the ESG. Also, thank you to the Vienna Insurance Group for their initiative and for their support. Hopefully, we will have opportunities to make another try, even better than this. Goodbye, and thank you all.